Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of Not the Newsletter, our show where we spend some more time unpacking cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and other technology things. We are here today with Chief Technology Officer, Chief Lizard of Chameleon Communications, and we have some awesome and wonderful, exciting things to talk about today. So let's jump right in. Tony, the first question I have for you is, you're the Chief Lizard of Chameleon Communications. I'm curious, where does that come from? How do you, what's the whole lizard thing and the chameleon thing? I'm just curious. Does that have a backstory at all?
Yeah, it kind of does. You know, I came out of GE, really buttoned up corporate environment. Everything was about titles.
Sure.
So I was a systems integration manager. And
ooh.
Yeah. And, so once I got off into, my own entrepreneurial thing, I really looked at, number one, the brand. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's a fun brand, Chameleon Communications. Mm-hmm. And number two, it was almost, kind of a little bit of a snub on those corporate titles to say, hey, let's just do what we do. I'm creative. So it reflects the brand.
Sure.
And I always get a positive response when people hear my title. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's just fun. I get to do it. Maybe that's the big reason, is because I get to call myself what I want to.
Sure. That's fun. So there's no lightning bolt moment. You weren't in Florida on vacation and you saw a chameleon on a stick or something like that. And you were just like, that's it right there.
It was nothing like that. No.
It's good though. I mean, I think the hard thing is branding, right? So the branding is actually really a complicated thing, right?
Correct.
I mean, we thought of, so this podcast is new for us, right? We're on episode 2. We spent a lot of time trying to think of a name for it. How do you find something that's unique and you and individual and different? And you start thinking about it, you're like, oh, you could name it anything, right? But anything you could think of, someone already's done, right?
What is the name, by the way?
So it's called Not the Newsletter Show.
Oh.
Yeah. So we've been doing newsletters for probably maybe 3 years now, right? And so I was like, it's kind of tongue in cheek. Honestly, the podcast I think is going to be valuable for our customers and people that sort of know us anyway. And so hopefully maybe they know that we do a newsletter already. And so I thought it was kind of funny. And again, we did that thing of how do you brand it? It's just, Tech Minute or the Tech Time or the Tech, any of those things are taken. There's 1,000 million podcasts doing something else. I was like, I want it to be unique. I want it to feel like me because I'm a kind of a weird and quirky guy too. And so, not the newsletter. So that was the thing. It's not the newsletter.
Yeah. To be to the contrary. I like that. There was a social media. It was a series of events that were hosted in Milwaukee years ago, and they called it Ungeeked.
Yeah.
Not geeked.
Yeah.
So they were kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And it was good for the brand.
Yeah, and it was. That's what I thought about it. The more I thought, I'm like, it's not going to be a ton different than our newsletter, I don't think, right? So I want to talk about artificial intelligence and cybersecurity and where it's taking people's businesses and how we can make things better for people with technology and how we can use it safely. It's going to be a lot of the same things that we would cover in a newsletter, but those are 3 minutes long, right? So how do I spend time to be like, unpacking those, right? And so I was like, man, not the newsletter. We spent literally weeks. I mean, we shot a couple episodes having not named this thing. So
yeah, that's why I couldn't find the name anywhere.
Yeah, we shot like 5 episodes. I think I accidentally missed one, so I think we shot like 1, 2, 4, 5, and unnamed. So we just started over. We just were like, hey, this is episode 2 now. Now having actually have a name.
But maybe you should have kept it unnamed.
The unnamed podcast. But that's
vanilla.
But probably someone has come up with that. There's probably
right.
The unnamed that probably exists. So we did it. We wrote things down. We tried cheating and using AI, and they all existed. Everything existed. So you'd find something that was really good. You're just like, oh man, that feels perfect. And you'd Google it, and some guy has 1,200 followers or 1,000. It wasn't huge, but it was enough to just, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to step on someone's toes. And so I was like, man, not the newsletter feels like it doesn't exist. It's kind of a inside joke a little bit, which felt perfect, and that just sort of stuck for me. And we knew we had you on the schedule, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we had some like on last week on the schedule. I was like, we have to name this thing, guys. Right? I mean, we have to do that, right? This is going to be bad. We have to. Tony's coming on the show, like literally the chief brand officer guy that I know.
I'm so glad you had a name when I asked.
Right?
Whoa.
Right? Because that would have been bad. But I mean, like when I go to LinkedIn, it's just like you. Everyone here, I'm just like, if we want to learn how to do LinkedIn, like Tony's the guy. Like if I hit my LinkedIn feed, like you're the guy. So it almost works every single time. I'm just like, they're like, oh, who is this Tony guy? I'm just like, dude he is just like a master of LinkedIn. And I'm just be like, watch this. Open LinkedIn. Boom. Right there. First guy, second guy, third. You're like top 5 at least, maybe not every time, but.
That's wow. That means a lot, and it's not like a lot of study goes beyond looking at the algorithms or trying to. I am myself. I post a lot. Here's what's ironic: I'm not even verified. You know what that is?
I have no idea
you
what
get
that
verified. Your profile gets verified. Basically, they take a picture of your ID and they go through a process and they verify that it's you.
Okay.
Well, LinkedIn will not verify me because of an unknown reason that I've been trying to find out for quite some time.
So what you're saying is we don't actually know if you're Tony Meister right now. That's
well, now you can see my face, and this is
This is as much proof as it gets.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But so anyway, that's the big got caught in the juggernaut of LinkedIn support, and I'm still working on getting verified. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It just.
Yeah, you are the LinkedIn mastermind, and you can't even get them to.
Maybe I need to get with your CCA.
Yeah, we could definitely get that done for you.
Your third level support.
100%. Yeah, we're good at getting things done, getting in there, and just like sitting on the phone for like 4.5 hours with someone until you find the right person. That's honestly the trick. Sometimes it's just finding that right person.
Right.
But yeah, so as we think about branding, it was that complicated thing of how do you think of something that someone already hasn't.
Right.
That can stick. That I want something that can stick. I don't want to rename this in a couple months. I don't want to have to do whatever.
Yeah. Something that can stick. Something that, when you're searching, even a domain name, make it not too long, complicated. Right. I mean, the ultimate goal is to make the complicated simple.
Sure.
The best brands are really simple.
Right.
And like you say, I think when you're talking about it being complicated, there are many facets.
Sure.
To properly reflecting who you are as an entity through your brand.
But there's a gravity to it, right? Because once you do that, once you go down that path, it's there. Yeah. We named CCA kind of that way. I just, I started the company when I was like a teeny tiny. I probably wasn't actually any shorter than I am now, but I like to think I was, 18, 19, 20 years old, something, right? And so you're just like, my initials are fine. Like, that's just enough. But you don't think it's going to go anywhere. You don't think it's going to be anything, right? And I don't know if this is going to be anything or, but I'm at least going to, now that you're older, you realize, hey, let's at least attempt to think of something that might be good long-term rather than just like, wee.
Yeah. Yeah.
We might be doing this 10 years from now. We might be having like a podcast anniversary, bringing back here 10 years and we have, 4 followers. Like that would be,
Well, this is great. Being on the maiden voyage of this podcast.
Exactly.
What an honor.
3 more people are going to follow us in the next 10 years, and you're just going to be like, yeah, let's go.
Love it.
So branding and any words of wisdom there?
Oh, words of wisdom. I believe in collective genius when it comes to creativity, and I didn't at first. And so our company, obviously, we help with creativity, branding in many different regards. Because as you know, we shoot video.
Yep.
That's what we became known for early on.
Sure.
And so having said that, you run into clients that hire you and they have really great ideas. And sometimes it's not their bailiwick. It's not their wheelhouse. It's not what they do, but they have this idea and you hate to shoot it down.
Sure.
But ultimately, you're being hired to provide that creativity. So at first, I wasn't sure how to handle that when a client would come up with something that I knew wouldn't work. They're hiring me. But eventually, what I learned is that there's a way of navigating that
Sure.
to really tap into what they know about themselves, their industry, and allowing for a collaborative effort to take place. So some of the best creative things that I think we've done has been from collaboration.
Okay.
So with branding, I think the key thing is establishing a team and, more than just coming up with the brand communications, whether it's your tagline logo, if you're going to rebrand, all of that more important than just coming up with these creative ideas is having a buy-in in the organization and really nailing who you are authentically.
Sure.
Because then when someone engages with your people, your organization, they're experiencing what you're conveying with that brand. And that's huge. And that has to be communicated through the organization.
Sure. And you said the word authenticity there. I feel like if I had one word for your LinkedIn profile, that might be it, right? You're very sort of like open and authentic and real, like just having sort of interacted with some of the stuff that you put out on LinkedIn. You don't necessarily hold back, and it's not always about business. And sometimes you're very sort of give back to the community as sort of like a part of your LinkedIn presence.
Yeah.
I mean, is that a? I mean, how do you even do that? I mean, I watch sometimes, and I'm just like, man, I want to do business with a business that does that. But then you look and you're just like, I wouldn't even know where to start. So, I mean, if anyone's watching this, I think it's good advice maybe for us to learn from you. But like, how do you even do that? Because I do think it gives you some credibility to be like, wow, this is a good guy. Like, I like working with good people. This guy is just out there and he's at these events. And if you looked at LinkedIn, I mean, there's just like, you're at TOSA events and you're sharing and you're kind of giving back to the community and throwing ideas out there. And
yeah, I think one of the big things is having whatever you're doing, let it be top of mind in terms of how you would potentially plan posting or using that event. Like this here, I brought my own camera without knowing that you had this entire studio and all this awesome equipment. And, you're thinking ahead when we just did a construction owners summit, with the Wisconsin Veteran Chambers of Commerce. And there I was thinking ahead, well, hey, we got to make sure that we're really capturing this and we're meeting people, and met Andy Wines, who's, so when I see Andy, because this is top of mind for me, I'm like, oh, I got to grab him. I got to interview him. He's going to be fun. He's going to be interactive. So again, it's planning ahead.
Sure.
Thinking about a lot of it is spontaneous. I'll just have an idea.
Sure.
And I'll be in my car, and maybe I'll be just ready to engage in.
A lot of your videos are in the car.
They are.
Yeah.
Not always while I'm driving, but.
I mean, they look like you might be driving, but I won't tell anyone.
Yeah, but anyway, so that it's. I guess it becomes part of what you do. And here's the thing that you really want to do. You want to give people a commercial without them knowing it.
But it feels authentic though too. So it's not.
Well, it has to be.
Because some commercials, like, I don't love commercials. I mean, if I can pay another $10 a month for something so I don't get commercials, like, I'll do that.
Yeah.
But I don't think what I feel like you do, it doesn't really feel so much like a commercial as much as.
No. And so just to give you an example, the Biz Times did an event, and they did it at the Brookfield Conference Center, and they had a panel, and they were talking about what are things going to be the state of Waukesha County in 2050.
Sure.
So it was a look ahead into the future, and they had biotech representatives. One of my clients, Bill Berrien, he's got Pindell Manufacturing. He was going to the event. He wanted us to capture his talk.
Sure.
I said, hey, why don't we get you on a hot mic? We'll follow you around. And it was great. He's talking to people. He's a real personal guy. He's a former Navy SEAL.
Okay.
And so you'd think he'd be this really rough guy, but he's got this just kind of this soft demeanor. He's a really neat guy. And so we followed him around, and we were able to capture behind the scenes footage. We got him, walking up on the stage, following him with a camera, and essentially what we did was we captured snippets of him talking about his company, talking about how the pay for his employees has tripled in so many years, talking about all these positive things with a behind the scenes type of a theme.
Sure.
Where people are like, hey, this is really cool. He's going to go up on stage. And yet they learned about why he's so awesome with Pindell.
Sure.
And so we gave people a commercial and they didn't even know it. So
Right.
I think that's a key thing.
And there's something, so the behind the scenes stuff tends to be maybe more authentic.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Behind the scenes is huge.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you should have put the camera that you brought here you should have put it like further away so it felt more behind the scenes. So this felt more authentic.
Well, so just so everybody knows, the camera that I brought here is this Osmo Pocket 3. And it has a 1-inch sensor. and it shoots 120 frames per second, 4K. So what we did was we set that right up at the stage.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And so it followed everyone that came up at the stage at this event. And it's very,
So if DJI is listening to this, you would like some credit for any, we'll put like a link in the description or something like that, and then we'll give you credit for every sale that goes through.
Any kind of sponsorship.
Yeah, like 1% of everything DJI. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Mm-hmm. Someone clicks it and then buys like 500 drones. Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. So artificial intelligence is the big topic right now. Do you see that affecting anything you do? Do you have any, does that add any value to what you do for branding, or do you see it changing how people, I mean, we try to use it for branding. I was just like, well, I don't like, I don't know what I'm doing. So like, I'll just ask AI what I should do and name things.
Yeah. So we're more than branding. So
yeah,
that's
I guess
just
that's a better
one
question.
facet. No, it's not a bad question.
Sorry.
It's because
You should tell us everything about Chameleon. That was, I think, what I was getting at there is maybe you should kind of, if you're other than branding, you guys are marketing. So if you want to explain everything you do, that.
well, it's essentially it's connect, engage, convert. Those three things.
Okay.
And the first thing is branding.
Sure.
So connect with your brand, engage with your prospects, convert new clients. That's really what we do in the realm of marketing. And creativity is a big part of it. I call it signal strength. That means when we're working with a client, we want them to stand out and have a strong signal out there so that, in this attention deficit era, we capture people. So branding is a part of that. How does AI fit into that? We have different, I have interns that rotate through, and then, they may stay with the company. They may move on to a Spectrum TV, or because we do a lot of video, stuff like that. And I always warn them that we can't use AI as a crutch because your creative muscle, you got to keep that going.
Sure, yep.
And so that's what's tricky. Now, I don't have to worry about that. I know how to write. I can do all of this stuff.
Sure.
But AI is a huge tool specifically for what you're talking about with branding, et cetera. But its tentacles are everywhere. I'll give you this week. I have, because we do video, I've got all of this video from over, the last 7 years with on different drives, stuff like that. I've got just a random array, like a RAID where we've got redundancy, but still, the video's all over the place. So what do? I've got a little tool that'll report out on, you can do a search for, like if I did CCA, here's the stuff that came up for, if we did video for you. Well, it's in disparate locations, et cetera, et cetera. So what did I do? I used that tool. I exported out a CSV. I imported that into ChatGPT, and it told me where everything was, where the redundancy was, it's just...
So it found like multiple copies of the same A roll and that sort of thing.
All of that told me how many files. And that's just from this simple little utility that you use to look up a client's video and see what drive it's on. As well as I do, the uses are endless.
Yeah.
Zoom.
That feels fairly practical though, right? That's not necessarily creative.
No,
right?
It's not asking it for tagline ideas. It's not creative. But
I will say 100%. We tried using AI to do creative things.
Sure.
And I think it failed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. In what way? I'm curious.
I just think they all felt. So if we're thinking about sort of behind the scenes, and that sort of like, it feels like someone thought about this and it was creative and it has some sort of, I don't know, it just embodies something, right? There's just something about a good brand that just is, it's more than the brand. It's just something like none of the AI results ever gave us any of those things.
Right.
It was very sort of computery still. So it was very it was still very programmed.
More cerebral
right, like
intelligence.
The tech podcast, the time, it's just like it just took words that knew were sort of technological and then just like mashed them into podcast or mashed them into show or mashed them into something else.
And I've used AI for creativity at times where it may spit out some results, and there are different, and maybe it's a combination of a couple of those results that I know intuitively will work for kind of this, I don't know, organic representation, if you will, what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Where it's not going to know the nuances of culture and, those types of things.
But I think we want that. I think we want that sort of, as humans, we want that like relationship, and that there's something about that ethereal thing that it's hard to even sort of put your mind around. And I think it has to, that was the thing. I sort of had to sell the idea internally, right? So we're like, hey, what are we going to name this? We came up with nothing. I was like, hey guys, my idea might not be great, but let's just talk about this. Like, so maybe it's not the newsletter. And they're like, yeah, it's not the newsletter, Chris. I'm like, all right, give me a second. But like, you have to sort of sell the brand of like, here's the idea. And maybe we're having a conversation and we're just like, Chris, what does not the newsletter mean? And then it can be a story, and it can be, more than just a brand, right? Because if it's like, oh, it's the Tech Minute. Well, okay, well, I don't have to ask a question. That's not interesting. That's not different. There's 75 other podcasts called the Tech Minute.
Right. But it's intriguing enough.
Right.
And you can elaborate on it.
Yeah.
And people remember it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing about it.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So how did you get into branding? Were you doing branding at GE as well?
No. Ironically, I had a career that was, I'm not saying technology's not creative now. I'm in this environment. I don't want to get tomatoes thrown at me. But what I was doing as a systems integration manager at GE was not tapping into the abilities that I have to be creative. And so I was not really fulfilled in my career. And what's ironic is I was doing what everybody else thought was important. My family, get a good job at a really established company. Back then, GE was a little more on the edge with technology.
Sure.
Jeff Immelt was at the helm at that time. And then, well, this is kind of a personal story, but I'll share it. I had an incident in our family. My dad kind of strayed. Let me just put it that way. I was 7, 8 years old, resulted in divorce. My dad was an inspiration for me, for creativity. So my dad literally opened the door for opportunities with, really famous people.
Okay.
Like back in the day.
Sure.
A long time ago. Evel Knievel. Okay.
Back in the day. I like how you said that. We're not that old, Tony. You don't look that much older than me. How back in the day? We can't start saying that yet. That makes me feel like I have to say that soon.
Well, do you know who Evel Knievel is?
Yeah, barely.
Yeah. See, barely. See, this is what I'm talking.
I threw barely in there just to make sure that I wasn't like, that's just my I'm just.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But actually, though, I don't know that I ever saw.
Well,
on TV.
You just go down to the Harley Museum in Milwaukee.
Sure.
They've got a whole display about him. They've got, I think it's not an actual motorcycle from him, but it's a replica. He was a big deal.
Yeah.
Well, he phoned our house. My dad traveled with him. Miss America. My dad was on the set of the Johnny Carson Tonight Show with Johnny. Huh. It goes on and on. If you ever heard of Bader Rudder, they're an ad agency in Milwaukee. They've got other locations. They're pretty big. Well, my dad and Ron Bader were both account execs.
Okay.
Yeah, at the same agency. Huh. And my dad had the GE account and Ron Bader had the agricultural accounts. So having said that, back to my story, he was like, wow. I looked up to my dad. Well, when this happened with the divorce and things took a different trajectory and it just dismantled what I knew as a normal family. Mm-hmm. We got divorced. My mom, eventually she got cancer. And I'm moving around. And I tell this a lot. I moved on average once a year. So from kindergarten to 12th grade, I moved 12 times.
Wow.
Went to 9 different schools. And so all of that, I think, left me with just a little bit of bitterness towards Dad. And so I didn't want to be like him. And I didn't even know that was really going on in here, in my soul. And it wasn't until I forgave him.
Yeah.
I forgave him.
That's powerful.
And I got released. And you may say, well, wait, didn't your dad get released?
That's how forgiveness works. No,
that's how it works.
Yeah, that is for sure.
And you hang on to it. It's like, I've heard vindictiveness it's like drinking poison, waiting for someone else to go down.
Because your dad has no idea if you have or haven't forgiven him. Like he's already,
No, I did it personally.
That's what I'm saying. So like that's why I think it's you letting go is the release for you, because
Correct.
the other person doesn't necessarily know.
They have to work with that, and so after that happened, bottom line. So I'm on a conference call with some people in Chicago, and I've got the handpan stand in my office.
We're definitely talking about the handpan.
Oh yeah.
At some point.
And they see all this stuff going on, and they're like, wait a minute, you were in IT? I'm looking at your LinkedIn profile. How did you flip over to all this? Where did this come from? And I had an epiphany. I did not want to follow in my dad's footsteps.
Okay.
So I had this career in IT at GE. I was good at it, and there were a lot of elements that I love. I love technology, but there was a creative side that needed an outlet. And that was holding me up. And once that strategic inflection point happened when I forgave Dad, it just, boom, things just opened up.
That's cool.
And the creativity and all that my dad did, and I think, kind of passed down to me, began to come into fruition so I could serve other people with that.
Yeah, you feel fairly extroverted, right? Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of difficult sometimes in IT, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I love this. Like I'm a little bit extroverted too in IT. And I was just like thinking about this idea. I'm just like, I can't believe I get to do this. This is so like, it's that good. I love it so much. And it's just like, I get now as an entrepreneur, you get the opportunity to be like, okay, fine, we're in IT. How can I make that feel like me too? So they're like, I really love the idea of talking to people. Let's bring them in and have a podcast. And hopefully maybe we can talk about AI. Maybe we can help people with things that have nothing to do with technology. Like, hey, maybe there's some ideas you've thought about with marketing and branding that people will watch us and be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Yeah. And with you, and what you've done is you've built a successful company. And so you've got the chops, you've got the experience, you've got things that you can talk to. And, I think that really helps, because you're going to be able to interject as these podcasts keep rolling out. You're always going to have some experience that you bring to the table, and wisdom and knowledge that's really true and tried. And I think that's really going to be fun to watch.
I just like the idea of having conversations with people. It seems weird, right? And you're just like that.
Yeah.
But I think that's the difference between someone that's extroverted and introverted. And it's interesting to see that thing that was probably in you all the time, that sort of extroverted part of you that was just like always in there a little bit. Maybe it was kind of being pushed down a little, and then you're just like, okay, we're going to do this thing. And I'm going to go. I'm going to be the guy with the camera walking around. I mean, you came in our door. I thought you were actually recording at the time. You had like a tripod and stuff. I thought you were just like, that's what I was expecting. Because having watching your LinkedIn, I was expecting you to be like, hey guys, I'm headed to a podcast. Oh, I'm open the door at CCA. Like your typical in the car, walking down the street. Like that's what I was expecting. I'm like, this guy's just a monster. He's literally doing some brand things while he's walking in the back door. But you weren't. You just brought the camera with you. But it felt like that. It felt very Tony. So, yeah. So the handpan, Tony, you did mention that.
The handpan. What do you want to know? People don't even know what a handpan is.
That's the kicker. That's what's amazing about this right now. I don't know if anyone knows what a handpan is.
Well, a handpan is a unique instrument that was invented in the year 2000. So that in and of itself is pretty amazing. Relatively new on the scene as it pertains to, main instruments like your guitar, piano. So it was invented in a place called Bern, Switzerland. And the handpan is essentially like a steel drum, but it is, instead of being concave, it's convex. So it looks like a flying saucer. And the unique thing about the handpan is that you play it with your hands, and each note is conveyed through what they call a tone field. And every tone field has a bass note, and then you have an octave higher. So if you ever, guitar players out there would know this, when you do, you can tune a guitar with harmonics. Mm-hmm. Ding, ding. So each one of these tone fields has the bass note, and you can do harmonics, and then you'll have, the octave higher, and then you'll have a fifth higher note. So you have these three notes within each tone field. And I don't really know of any other instrument other than a stringed instrument that does this. And your ear loves those waveforms because the bass note is a note. It looks like this. It's just this waveform, and you've got an octave higher, and then that doubles.
Sure.
And you've got a fifth, and then that triples it. And it's so deep and so rich that your ear picks that up. And then when you bring in chords,
Sure.
3 notes,
It sounds very ethereal as an instrument.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. There's nothing like it. It's.
So was there unlike the lizard in Florida on a fence post moment, was there a handpan moment where you like walking down the street somewhere and you walked by a handpan dealership and you were just like, I need that? Like, how does one even get into that? You know, it's not like you're 8 and you're like, oh man, I really love that guitar player. I really just like, I look up to them. I'm going to learn how to play the guitar because I want to be like them.
Yeah. You know, here's what's funny. Social media, it all goes back
That's
to...
what it was? Yeah.
That's what it was. I saw a video on Facebook of this guy named Sam Maher, Maher, busking. If you know what that is, it's essentially when you see someone in a major city playing on the street, they got the bucket out, busking. In New York, in the subway, Sam was busking with a handpan, and I was enthralled.
And you were otherwise musically inclined at this point?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Playing drums and guitar.
Okay.
I was more of a drummer that played guitar.
Okay.
So, you know, guitar wasn't the main instrument. Now I might be a handpan player that plays drums. I don't know. Yeah. But I saw Sam.
How often is a handpan with you personally? Percentage-wise?
Well, you're so analytical. Look at you. You got percentage-wise. I would say 75%.
Whoa, that is way higher.
Because I have it here.
I know you do. Yeah,
I figured, keep it in the car.
I figured you would. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I was trying to think of when we met, and I don't remember. Do you remember when we met or why?
Yeah, I do remember.
Okay.
And it was.
I feel like the first time we met was it
2020.
Okay, but you had a handpan, so I think we were having a conversation about literally nothing that had anything to do with the handpan, and we were just like at the end of the conversation, you were like, "You guys know what a handpan is?" No, I don't know what a handpan is, Tony. What are you talking about? You're like, I'll be right back. You come in with this big, giant handpan case thing, and it's like it unzips, and you open it up, and you were just ready. You like, I think you love the idea of like spreading the handpan word, and you're just like, you're such a good like brand, you know.
Yeah, well, here's a really cool story. If you remember this, well, obviously you do, because shortly after that, you came to me, and you were like, you wanted, so you DM'd me on LinkedIn, and you were talking about doing video, and I was like, okay, what does he mean doing video? I thought you wanted me to do video because that's what we do is video.
Yeah.
But you were offering me a free video.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe that.
Still the real, you know, it's kind of part of the thing.
Yeah. And here's what's crazy is I had someone who had just booked me to play the handpan, and because of COVID, I couldn't go do that. But because you offered a video, I was able to capture that. And I'm telling you, this was within a week. It was a big downer. Oh, we can't do it. Is there any way you could do this? They asked me with video, and I thought, well, yeah, I can. But boy, that's a lot of overhead. And then you come along. Isn't that crazy?
That was crazy. It was also fun. We had a lot of cameras. I think I shot.
That was like insane.
6 cameras, maybe.
Yeah.
We had like top down. Like we had 2 mobile cams. I think maybe It was a lot.
You even had an iPad.
Yeah. No, I had the like top down camera was like an iPhone 13 Pro or something at the time, or whatever was the newest one, like shooting Apple log or whatever the best it could do.
Yeah.
There was 2 mobile cams, maybe 3 like static cams, the top cam. So yeah, it was 5.
We had
or 6.
the blue light,
Yeah.
and then I think it was like that, you know, that pink kind of light or that.
Yeah, but that was kind of around the same time where we were just like, you know, we're getting into all this video tech stuff, not really knowing how it's going to transform what we do. And it was just like, how do we learn? How do you learn? And I can't call you and be like, hey, Tony, I want to do a video. We want to charge you $10,000. I don't think we've ever charged anyone for video, you know.
Yeah.
But it was more of a thing, like we really want to learn how to do this best for ourselves. Like, how do you do lighting? How do you, and honestly, short of doing it 600 times. It was easier to just like go and do things for free for people. It's a blessing for them.
I mean, it was just the timing couldn't have been more perfect.
And the amount of things you learn by giving things away for free is crazy, right?
I was almost incredulous. Really, really. And then, that was really how we got to know each other.
Sure.
Because that's the first time anyone has ever done a full-fledged video, because
Production.
I'm usually the guy.
Yeah. It was a big edit too, because I had
it was a huge edit.
to get 6, 7, 8 cameras and audio. We had multiple microphones, because to mic a hand pan was actually not that easy.
I'm glad this is getting out there for the public, because, I get to give you a public, thanks for that, because you deserve it. That was like amazing. So very cool.
So I was looking at LinkedIn this morning. We have 54 mutual connections, Tony. I don't know what that means, but that feels like a large number. I don't know.
It does. I think it does.
So I was trying to find out. You might know this because you're like a LinkedIn, whatever, mastermind. We should come up with a name. No,
I don't know.
Something. Aficionado. You fine with that?
That sounds
fine.
Official.
Okay. I was like, is that like a good number? Is that low? Is that high? Like, I didn't know. I'm like, is that a win? Do we know the most amount of people that? I was trying to, I don't know. But I actually tried to find a report this morning. I'm like, show me all my connections and how many connections I have to those connections, and then maybe sort it by like top down.
So that's
a thing?
Oh yeah, it's huge. Sorting and delving down and really getting into the nitty gritty of your search is huge. But having those connections is great too, because here's one thing that I love to do. Just a little kind of a side note thing, maybe a little tip.
It's 56, Tony. We just got 2 more. How does that even happen? I think I wrote down 54.
Wow. Look at that.
Look at that.
It's moving.
It's not even live, and people are just like following both of us on LinkedIn.
Yeah, there you go. Well, here's what's really cool is on your phone, if you got the LinkedIn app, and I want to introduce you to someone, I love the voice feature, because you get them on a DM, you get whoever you want to introduce, you get those 2 people together, and you just say, hey, Chris, just want you to meet Jeff. Jeff, want you to meet Chris. Talk a little bit about both of you. Happy connecting. And then they get a voice DM, and then they're connected. And it's just nice.
Sure.
Because, in this AI...
Because you love people too.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And so that helps to just have, your voice. It's like introducing them at a networking event. Speaking of that...
Speaking of networking events?
What a perfect time to segue.
That was a good segue.
If you're okay.
Yeah.
Can I segue?
Yeah, that's fine. That feels like something we planned. I like that.
Yeah, because we're talking LinkedIn, we're talking connections and networking. So here's what's new. What we did recently was we established what's called LinkedIn Local Wauwatosa.
Okay, I saw that.
You saw that?
I did. So we sat down recently and we're like, can we join that? Like, we're not in Tosa. We almost thought about coming or joining or doing something. We're just like, ooh, we have
could join
business in Tosa, but we're not like physically in Tosa.
Yeah,
like just rent a Regis for like 5 minutes a month just to give ourselves the Tosa address.
Tosa's so perfect because it's Milwaukee County, so it's Milwaukee.
Yeah,
it's right off the freeway. But here's the big thing: when I looked at this and had the vision for it, I thought to myself, well, here I have this partner where my office is expansive in Wauwatosa. Mm-hmm. Beautiful place.
Yeah, it's very nice.
When you walk in there, you get this big mezzanine. The architecture is phenomenal. I call it the atrium.
I was going to call it a mezzanine or an atrium.
Well, the mezzanine is the upper level.
Yeah, maybe that's the word. Maybe I thought
official
atrium.
word for that.
Yeah.
It's appropriate.
Yeah.
But because they have living moss on the walls as artwork and plants all over, I'm like, hey, this is the atrium. Anyway, what we've done is we've collaborated with Expansive, so we're co-sponsoring this, and we bring in always a little nugget about for LinkedIn. So the first event that we had was with Wayne Breitbarth, and he wrote the book called Power Formula. He's just a master at LinkedIn. He's been around for a while. He's amazing. So he did our first talk.
Sure.
Every event, we have 5 minutes of LinkedIn tips. We call it Tosa Tips in 5. Why Wauwatosa? Because if you're familiar with that book, Blue Ocean, the whole concept is swim in a blue ocean in business. Because if you're going to swim in a red ocean, that's where all the blood is. Everyone's competing. Why do what everyone's doing and swim there? So I thought, why try to do another LinkedIn Local Milwaukee. When it comes to branding, I have this huge billboard that's massive in the form of a water tower right on Highway 45 in Burleigh. And it says Wauwatosa.
Yep.
We shot video of that. So we started LinkedIn Local Wauwatosa. We're right there in the Mayfair collection.
Yep.
So we're swimming in a blue ocean. We're the only one out there. LinkedIn Local Wauwatosa.com. And we've had a couple really great events already.
I looked at it so much, I almost bought LinkedIn Local Waukesha. Like, that's how far we got. I was like,
yeah.
It was. I'm like, is this a thing that exists? Does this exist in Waukesha? It does not. So this is a new thing that you're just doing. This is not like a Chamber of Commerce,
No, but we've got a lot of interest from the Wauwatosa Chamber of Commerce and local businesses, and it's just a win-win for everyone.
Yeah.
Networking, LinkedIn, but here's the thing. Just last week, we had a real estate panel. So the state of real estate in 2024, we had David Bellman on the panel, Rosa Stong.
Bellman Homes, I'm taking
Bellman Homes.
Okay.
Yep. Kels Svoboda from Compass. He was the moderator. Ty Ash from Compass. So it was just a really informative panel. And so everybody got a lot of great information. It was a great topic. We're going to be doing an AI panel coming up later in third, fourth quarter.
Sure.
That's going to be awesome. So, yeah. So
you have your speakers figured out for AI yet?
Working on that. I've got a couple that are, potentially lined up.
Sure.
And so that'll be coming out, but yeah.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun to know.
So
where, if people are listening to this and want to watch that, listen to that, go to that, where would they find that information?
They go to LinkedIn, localwauwatosa.com.
Just kind of keep an eye on that thing.
Keep an eye on that. Yep. You can register and then just follow. You can follow Tony Meister on LinkedIn. I'll always be keeping stuff on there.
Do you really need more followers on LinkedIn though, Tony?
No, I don't. I'm not.
I'm just kidding with you.
But I do need more followers on our.
How many do you have?
I don't even know. I think it's around 6,000 ish.
Okay.
But I do need more followers on our LinkedIn Local Wauwatosa company page.
There's a page for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So check that out. That's probably a good place to stay apprised.
We can put that in the description, I think, right? If we put this on YouTube or whatever.
For sure. Yeah.
Can you put those things up? I'm new to podcasting. I don't know if we can put things in descriptions.
It's actually better to do that.
I'm getting a nod from someone. So yes, we can. Yeah. So you can find it there too.
Yeah. It'll be fun.
That is fun. Yeah, that looks exciting. I saw some. Again, I think I can just follow your life because I just go on LinkedIn every once in a while. You're just like, oh, look what Tony's doing now. Yeah, but it looked interesting. Fun. It looked interesting. So, yeah. Any like tips and tricks for? I imagine you work with businesses that, to some degree, have to take your ideas and do them themselves, right? Not everyone has a Tony Meister full time on staff, right? So do they have to find that person that's extroverted, that's doing those things for their? I mean, obviously you would help them get the brand and kind of get a trajectory, but someone in the company would have to own that, right, or not?
Yeah, that's a good question because that's a big part of the whole social media, game, if you will, is really, we kicked this off talking about being authentic.
Yeah.
And you got to have someone that's going to be the voice of the brand and just be real. And if you're having someone that does your social media, if you hire that out, you want it to be your voice. That's even another whole part of branding. What's your brand voice?
Sure.
Because they're going to speak for you. And so, yeah, I think that's one of the biggest challenges is when you're having someone manage your social media. But ideally, in a perfect environment, there is someone that is extrovert. They're creative.
Sure.
That's what they love to do. They're running the marketing, and they're the voice at the same time. But it's better when someone's at the helm like you.
Sure. Yeah, we've seen videos. So we don't do a ton of marketing because we don't have I don't know. Well, we should talk after this because we probably should actually. But we've been doing video for a long time, and I think it's maybe not behind the scenes so much. But I do think if you're watching someone on camera, on audio, over a longer period of time, right? You can watch newsletters, you can watch podcasts, you can see what we do, and you can kind of get a sense of who the people are, right? It's really hard to shoot a whole bunch of videos and shoot a whole bunch of things and not get a sense of who that place is and what the company culture is and that sort of thing. So I think that's helped. I think as we've gone into conversations and things like that, people are just like, we saw your newsletter, we saw this, we saw that. And even though we're not necessarily doing like intentional marketing and things like, which we're trying to do, because I think we're just have been generally bad at that. But I would agree with you that I think we've seen audio, video be an important driver in that, where people are just like, because I think no one has said anything, but I feel like when we get in the room for the first time with someone and we're up against other people, we're maybe bidding against a project or a contract or whatever, we hear often like, we watched all your newsletters. Not we didn't watch some, like all. I mean, there are people have been implementing things that we did 6 months ago in a previous newsletter. So they know who we are, and we're training. We want to be teachers. We love our customers. We love the people. We love people. And so I think in doing some of those things, you can show the world who you are before they sit in a room with you.
Absolutely. There is nothing like meeting with someone in person.
Right.
It's those little nuances that you pick up, body language. There's just something beyond, talking with someone even over the phone.
Right. I agree.
And so that's why I always tell organizations that you should at least have one video that talks about you. Why? Because someone's going to go to your website. You may never get that opportunity to meet them face to face, but the closest you're going to get is a video.
Yep.
Now AI is coming out with all the deep fake stuff, but I still think they're going to be hard pressed to really get an authentic representation of someone like you. You're doing these newsletter videos, you're doing this type of thing. I don't think deep fake is going to come along to the point where it's, I could be wrong, but oh yeah, that's Chris. That's right. The real
Chris. I would agree with you.
You know what I mean?
Unless it's really just copying something I already did. So that I think sometimes you've seen AI do things, and it's just like, that's like just literally a mashup of things that already existed. You just went out, found it, and was like this, and you just stole it and then used it for something else, which doesn't feel like it created something from nothing.
Correct. Yeah. And so again, back to, there's nothing like meeting someone in person. And I think the closest that you get to that is video. That's why you're getting this response. People, they're watching these newsletters that you're putting out, and they're commenting on it. They've watched all of them.
Mm-hmm. It's fun. I like it.
Yeah.
But it gives us an opportunity to be in front of them more than we could normally be. It's hard to get out. So when we started video, it was just like during COVID, and we're just like, okay, we're locked. We're all locked in our room. I'm like, how do I make sure my customers know what's going on? Like, hey, we're now all locked in our areas. Like, what new emails are we going to get? What new things are going to happen that phishing actors and things are going to do now that there's this different change? Now we're not all behind the corporate firewall anymore. Now we're just everywhere. Like, how is that different? And how do we get that out to all of our customers as quickly as possible? When we can't just go talk to them about it. And so I was like, we just started doing video, and I was like, this is, I don't like going back. Like, if you're watching these, like, please don't go back and find our old stuff on YouTube. It's absolutely miserable. It takes a long time to get good at this, and it's really painful. So if you are doing this, if you're really trying to get into video and whatever, would you admit that, like, it takes a while for this to be comfortable?
It does.
Right?
Yeah. There's a, and that's why I think it was a good, it was easier for you than the average Joe, because you're technological.
Yeah.
You understand the technology.
I love that part. Yeah.
There's a lot of that.
The part of me was like, ooh, I'm going to learn the f-stops and the white balance. So I really enjoyed the technical side of it.
Yep.
And then I'm extroverted enough that it was okay. But yeah, if you watch some of the beginning ones, they're not good. And so I definitely had to fight through the pain. And you honestly don't even know how bad it is until you look back now. You're just like, I'm so much more comfortable having a conversation, and there's cameras everywhere. And, and that's, a couple of years ago, you would have just been like, ooh, I'm nervous. What am I going to say? What if I say something wrong? And so you just got to kind of keep pushing through that. But I agree with you. We've really enjoyed doing video. It's awesome. I think it's a great medium.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I didn't have anything else for you, Tony. Did you have any other ideas? Things you want to talk about? Things you've been storing?
Always have ideas.
Oh, you do? More?
Well, I mean, I don't know if there's anything specific to, I think we covered a lot today. part of me just wants to hold back because I want you to bring me back.
That's fine too.
If I just
the only
all the goods.
The only other question that I had was, and it's sort of the age-old marketing branding question is, do you have a favorite brand, and like, are there any thoughts or sort of recommendations around that, right? So you know, like Apple, they sort of create or Subaru, or these people kind of create something that's bigger than their brand, right? And like,
yeah.
Do you have a favorite, and like,
yeah, and I don't know why I think of with that question, I think of Columbia.
Okay.
Sportswear.
Sure.
You know, that I've always been impressed with just how quality their clothing is.
Okay.
And so
nothing to do with their marketing. You just like wearing their.
No, I think that the brand is powerful too.
Okay.
It's iconic. It's memorable. But the reason I bring that up is because you look at Duluth Trading Company.
Yeah.
They're kind of the same.
Sure.
Duluth started off with workwear.
Yep.
But they have a really fun brand.
Okay. I feel like Abercrombie started the same way. Wasn't Abercrombie like a outfitter of like, I'm going on a safari to Africa. I feel like that's where Abercrombie started, right?
That's news to me. I
feel like, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's.
I feel like they were kind of in that same.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so it reminds me. So I think they're both in the same space. Maybe there's a slight bit of a difference, with Duluth because they do workwear. But I like the Duluth brand as well. It's fun. It's quirky.
Okay.
It reminds me of locally here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It kind of reminds me of Nicolay Law.
Okay.
Have you seen any of that, guys?
I don't know why that sounds familiar. Are you guys?
Yeah, right. See, I don't know why that sounds familiar. And we're getting a nod from our tech man behind the media area.
So we've got proof, external proof
that it's bringing awareness.
Yeah.
Of course, we know who Gruber Law is. Yep. One call, that's all. He's everywhere. You can't go anywhere without seeing some sort of a billboard or being affected. My son and I have this ongoing joke because we see him everywhere. He's, oh no, there he is again. How do you combat that powerful brand of the simplicity of one call, that's all?
Sure. Yep.
Well, you do it like Nicolay Law, and you
make an emoji.
You make an emoji. You create an ad, a Super Bowl ad where you rap. He's doing all this crazy stuff.
Yep.
And I see it working. So that's a really, I think, that's one of those, hey, I don't want to call it boisterous, but I'm loud. I'm out there. I'm in your face in a fun way.
Sure.
And I'm intriguing you, and you want to look more and see what I'm about. And I think it's working. Yeah, some people, well, unless you get in a car accident.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, those are just right off the top of the head without doing a deep dive and really thinking about the.
And I think it's almost target audience too, a little bit, right? It's like,
oh yeah,
right. I mean, like an emoji that feels like someone came into a business and was like, what is our next customer? What's going to get our next customer? Like,
yeah,
maybe our current customers, this isn't going to be great for, but like, what's the next target audience look like? And they might be into the emojis, and they might be that might connect with them better. Like, they'll be the people that are going to be needing services from us at some point.
So if I drive out of here, boom, get in a car accident,
that's who you're going to call.
What's going to be top of mind? Is it?
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be Habish, and Dave. It's going to be someone that sticks out, and I think that's another thing that they're looking at. And it's kind of a down to earth,
sure,
fun message that he has. So
top of mind is interesting. And so, obviously, we're starting a new tech, AI, cybersecurity podcast. It's all new. I'm thinking of like, okay, who am I going to invite to this as a guest, right? So. Right, top of mind. I mean, this is what you're saying, right?
So that happened.
I'm just saying. I mean, like, who is the first? Like, we've started to invite other people as we kind of like build out the schedule now. So we're out a couple weeks now. I think it's going to be more of a show than a podcast. So I think we'll have our staff in there too as well. I was like, who would be good to be on a podcast? Like, literally the first thing. It's kind of the same thing. I was just like, okay, who? And you just like, if I thought of that like media podcasts space, I was like, Boom, Tony Meister, right?
Awesome.
So it's proof.
Mission
That's the proof.
accomplished.
It's the proof, right? That you're saying it's top of mind. It's just there's some consistency there too, right? Of just like being that guy that's like, I'm on the car, I'm driving over here, I'm opening a door, I'm going over to CCA for a podcast, like I'm eating lunch, we're shooting, a drone pictures of like toast a thing, like oh, do this thing, I'm hugging a guy, like,
Yeah. It's just staying in front of people,
right?
So that when they think of it, they know where to go.
Right. We have a couple of our customers that I think do that really well and are on LinkedIn and they're sort of top of mind for people. And that's what they're doing. It's just it's sort of that sort of consistent. I was gonna say like drip, but that sounds wrong because it sounds like the sort of like Chinese water torture or something, and that's not the perspective I want to have. But there's sort of a consistency to getting that out there, right, and sort of being out there, putting yourself out there, right. That's scary.
Yeah. It is. But I think one thing that helps is that if you're really wanting to serve people, if you really want to bring value to people,
right,
and that's your motive. I remember being at it was a coaching event, and it was Action Coach. Sure. I got invited, a lot of business owners there.
Yep.
And this one lady was giving her little elevator speech, and she was a nonprofit, and she was helping the cognitively challenged, and she was so nervous. And I thought to myself, you have the best cause out of anyone in this room.
Right.
You are doing it for other people. Love casts out fear. Mm-hmm. When you're looking at, helping other people, it's not about you.
Right.
And I think that gives you confidence. So when you said it's kind of scary to put yourself out there, but if you're doing it for a good reason, I think that eliminates fear.
Yeah. And that's why we started doing a lot of these videos. Is like, I honestly want our customers to be technologically savvy enough to avoid those pitfalls that we all know are out there, right? And so it's like, man, if we can do these things and be a good teacher for the people that are watching these things, and now it's with the podcast, maybe we can teach people how to use AI, how to do it safely. It's not going to be creative. Like, still call Tony, but like, how do we use that in the right way?
Right.
I think those are all really wonderful opportunities. But yeah, I think it is all based on, like you said, I think the rest of it falls in line, right? So I think if you start with, I really want to serve people and do good things in the market, everything else sort of falls in line, right? Because I think people enjoy that. People enjoy someone that's real and thinking about someone else first.
Yeah.
That person might have been introverted that was nervous about giving their elevator speech. Or were they not nervous?
Oh, they were very nervous. Okay. And that's what made me think.
Why are they nervous?
Think about what think who you're representing, what you're doing, the cause. You
got to have that passion, right? That passion of like, I really believe in this thing that I'm doing. But you might have found someone that's, I kind of was saying it earlier, you really have to find that person that's going to own that extroversion thing, right? That's willing to just be like, I'm going to be on a stage. That's amazing. I'm excited. I'm excited to tell the world about this thing that I'm so in love with and passionate about. Where some people might be, more timid, right?
Yeah.
But Tony Meisters don't exist everywhere either. So maybe they just need to have you give them the elevator speech. Go up there with them, be like, "I'm so excited about what these guys do. Here's what they're. Oh my gosh! Like they just killed it last year, and they brought in right."
Well, in a sense, that's what Chameleon does.
There you go.
But it's a team.
You're the
I'm
guy.
on one part of the team, and as well as I do. I don't know the details of your management here, your structure, but there are people that compliment you because you have weaknesses, Chris. Everybody does, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you need
100%.
someone that can do those things that you don't do. And
well, I mean, you and I have been
thing.
shooting a podcast for a long time. Like, my team is amazing and wonderful, and they're all still working. Right? Yeah. I love them. They're amazing. They know they love them.
Just one last question.
Maybe they'll watch us and they'll find out if they didn't know before.
One last question.
Yeah, for sure.
Can we play ping pong?
Yeah, absolutely. Just to see if we can. Yeah, you're looking at the clock and you're just like, I got to get out of here, but I want to play ping pong.
That's
fair. I feel like we're done. We're just kind of rambling at this point, just having some good talks. So nothing else from you. Got all the nuggets are out. So where would someone find you if they wanted to have you come alongside them show them how to.
There's a social media platform called LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, got it.
And that is
you're gonna be hard to find there, is what you're telling me.
And then ChameleonCommunications.net is the company
Sure.
webpage.
Yeah.
So
good stuff.
Honor to be here.
Yeah, it was good. It was good to have you.
So much fun.
Yeah. I figured it would be. I was excited. I've been literally just like, like almost like pinching yourself. You're like, I can't believe this is my job. We're just gonna hang out. We're gonna hang out with fun people that we just like sit down and have a conversation. And there's technology, there's cameras and lights and things all over the place. And you brought more cameras because we didn't have enough tech here. So that's awesome and wonderful. Well, thanks Tony for being here. It was a pleasure. We'll bring you back at year 10 when we have 5 million people watching this. That sounds a fair number, right?
Yeah, just enough to make me nervous.
Yeah,
totally. I'm not now, but that will put me over the edge.
And we'll go live next time. So next time, instead of like recording it and uploading it later, like,
oh my goodness.
Well, 5 million people, a couple 100,000 want to watch you, right? So you probably got to like, there's gonna be chat, and someone will be over here like running it. See, I'm just gonna think bigger than this thing's gonna ever get, right? So that we can shoot for some big goals.
There you go.
10 years, you got that?
There you go. I'm with you.
We'll put something on the calendar, and then we'll play some ping pong.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Well, thanks, Tony. Thanks everyone for watching, and go follow Tony on LinkedIn. Great guy. Glad to know Tony. And watch some of his handpan videos. Go watch some handpan videos on the internet. They're amazing.
Blue handpan.
Blue handpan. Okay, that's a handle.
Just look up blue handpan.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Look up blue handpan, and check us out in 10 years when we bring Tony back again. Thanks, everyone.